Okay, so yesterday I was describing that how this scatter plot, how these simple tools are to understand this graphical tools to understand the correlation. Then covariance came in the picture. That's another tool can use to find the association among variables. And then due to some problems in the covariance that limitations yesterday we discussed. Now we are going to do correlation with another methods which are more useful these days. So just remind back for yesterday's class that what was the problem with the covariance, that one is the unit, it's not unit free. So with change in units, the figures are going to change, and we can't. Another problem we have that we can't say is this correlation is high, low, or moderate. Means we are not sure about. We don't have any specific number to say about the degree of the association. So these are the two limitations of covariance tech. So that's why nowadays we use this Karl Pearson correlation coefficient for quantitative variables. So let's start with this Karl Pearson. It's about quantitative variables, your discrete and continuous variables. Brief history, I found it from the Stata site that this particular mathematicians. Actually, now the interesting part I found is that initially his interest is in the basically in the literary, historical, philosophical, and religious topics. This I also found in this European other economic philosophers and other mathematicians that their initials or they're from the diverse field, especially one or the other way they are linked with either the psychology or the philosophy, and these things are really helpful to understand or to create something new which is more useful. Similarly, this particular and his contribution is enough in the statistics like coefficient of variation, heteroscedastic, homoscedastic, curtices, mode, random sampling, random walk, skewness, standard deviation. All these things are given by this Karl Pearson. So these things we in so many methods we use these terms, right? These calculations. So this is the great contribution by Karl Pearson. Today we're going to start with the Karl Pearson correlation coefficient. So before that, this is just to, yesterday I was trying to explain the scattergrams. If any one of you want to make these kind of graphs, then yesterday the command we will use scatter and your variables. If you want to label those variables with specific information, like in this particular case, then you can label them. Then the command is with the label option. For example, I want scatter for. Now today you can use a data set which I shared today and with the Skype. So you can use that file. Let's suppose I want to see the relationship between median age and marriage. Is total population data of this particular state's file I got from the Stata itself. Let's suppose I want to see this scattergram, median age and marriage. Well, first, just let look upon this particular scatter plot, that how it's look like. Is there any type of association? Is it providing us any kind of hint, or is it not? Although I yesterday I put emphasis on that these things you have to do with the theory and logics, whatever you have in the theory, not based upon the data. Let's suppose I have some kind of theory or some theoretical framework behind to see the relationship between median age and number of marriages. There is a cluster here, right? So let's see, I want to put labels to these dots, that for which particular state these dots are. So to do that, you can use this particular M label command with scatter. But if I want for all, I'm not going to describe, let me give the range, 1 to 50, comma, m label, and label variable is state. It's the name of the state. Let's see. Yeah, now it's okay. Now this is, although he has so many states, so it's not visible, but if you anytime you need this type of graphs, then you can keep the labels for all the scatter plots, so that you can sometimes it give a much useful information, so that you can do with the scatter plots. That's only I want to discuss today about the scatter plots. So with scatter plots you can also create labels, and you can create pairwise scatter plots also, like yesterday we did for the 3 variables. So you can also do that with the Stata software. Generally, these features are now added in this R and Python all software for Stata. So this, after I think 14 or 15 version, they also added these new features in the graphical descriptions. This is just to show you one that if you want, anytime you want to use the label with this scatter plot, you can use that. Okay, so come back to Karl Pearson correlation coefficient. Now, yesterday I described it that this is generally a standardization of the variable, because one of the problem with the covariance technique is that it's not unit free, and units is the problem that if unit, it's not problem that both the variables are different units. No, that's not the problem. The problem is that with the change size of the unit, the covariance value is going to increase or decrease, depends upon the association. So that's just because due to change in the units. So we need some unit-free method like we did in the standard deviation, coefficient of variation, right? Where we divided the standard deviation with the mean and multiply with the 100. Similarly, in this Karl Pearson coefficient correlation, first you have to do standardization these variables, and the standardization process is nowadays used as a Karl Pearson correlation coefficient. This is just a division of, this is the covariance, right, with n minus 1. Just to make it a standard free, unit free, we divided both with their standard respective standard deviations. This is generally we have a correlation coefficient. Another thing, we can't say anything about the degree of correlation, but with correlation coefficient we can say about this degree, right? If values lie nearby 0, this is a weak correlation. If it's moderate, nearby 0.50, if it's more than 0.70, then we will say it's a strong positive correlation. But while we do correlation, we can't describe that which one is dependent or independent. Both the variables are independent. We can only say that the correlation is positive and it's strong based upon the correlation coefficient. So let's take one numerical example first, and we do it with the Stata software, how this process works. Yesterday I also tried to describe the covariance process with the Excel sheet. Let's suppose we have this pair of data. It needs to be quantitative, right? If you are working on Karl Pearson, it means you only use this particular method when you have a quantitative data. And these two pairs in this particular situation might be with the same unit. It might be a different unit. That's not the problem. Maybe I think Karan is asking yesterday. That's not a problem. It might be two different variables with two different units. Like Soumya was trying to say about the education and income. Units is not the problem, because in this particular Karl Pearson coefficient correlation, it's a standardization process, so unit will not create any problem in the correlation coefficient. Yet we also come after it to the correlation property. That's also a property of the correlation coefficient. In this particular method, first you have to take the deviations from the respective means. Then you have to just multiply the deviation. That's the numerator term. Individual deviations and multiplication of the deviation. Then this is the summation of these deviations is the numerator term. In denominator, we have Sample size -1, that's if we are working on the sample size, and standard deviations of both the variables. So similarly, now next we have to do is, let's suppose this is the standard deviation of this both the variables, and we have a 5 observation. So n-1 is 4, and we can multiply these two standard deviations, and if we divide this numerator term with denominator, then its correlation coefficient. Now in this particular case, it's 0.85. So now 0.85 is indicating that correlation is strong, because based upon the correlation coefficient, now we have this some parametric or specification indications that what type of correlation we have. So in this particular situation, first it's a positive, so we can say this is a positive correlation, means both the things are moving in the same direction. The second, it's a strong correlation that we can based upon the value. If it's more than 0. Nearby 0.70 and it's greater than 0.75 or 70, we can say it's a strong positive correlation. So that's the manual process. If you do this particular, here you only have 5 observations, but let's suppose if we have 1 lakh observations or 2 lakh observations, then it's not possible to do this particular exercise with the calculator or in the manual process. Then we need a help of the software, right? All these formulas are same. It's just here and there some tricks. All these are the same, means not confused with these. So before that, let me do this particular thing with the Stata software. In Stata software, you have this, we'll find correlation in 2 different functions. Now I tell you what is the limitation of the one and why we use another one. First one, if you need a simple correlation coefficient in statistics, summary, descriptive statistics, correlations and covariances. Summary tables, summary, descriptive statistics, correlation and covariances. This is first. There are 2 options, pairwise and simple correlation. First go with the simple, then I'll come back to pairwise correlation. Now here you have to put the variables. First we will do this with the 2 variables. For example, I want to see the correlation between median age and divorce or marriage. Let's say marriage. In options, I also need covariances. You can also display mean, standard deviation, maximum, minimum if you want. All right, now I'm only interested in the covariance value of this particular variables. Okay. So here, this particular value is the covariance value, and this particular, okay, it's coming in the exponential. So let's do it without covariance. Okay. So this is in the marriage and median age, the correlation coefficient is 0.28. So this is not even a moderate, it's nearby low, means it's a weak type of correlation coefficient, but it's positive. And that we did with the scatter plot, right? If I can draw this scatter plot again, we can identify with the scatter plot that values are not in a particular, means more the dispersion in this scatter plot, the low the correlation coefficient. If these values are nearby and have some particular direction, it might be high. Now, yesterday I told you we have to take care about the outliers. For example, it might be a chance that because of this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 observations, this correlation coefficient is low. So then the solution is, first you have to go with this box plot or stem and leaf display that we did in the descriptive stat. Then find these outliers, then keep these outliers outside in the data set while you calculate correlation coefficients. So you can calculate this correlation coefficient without outlier, but for outlier you have to first find the outliers that you can identify with the box plot. That is median, then plus minus quartile third and quartile 1, and then plus minus interquartile range 1 with multiplied with 1.5. That's the box plot that I described in the descriptive stats. From there you can find these outliers, then keep them aside with the other data, and again calculate the correlation coefficient. There are chances that your correlation coefficient is going to be improved. Due to outliers, this calibration coefficient is very sensitive to outliers or any unusual changes. So that's the maybe one problem that you will find low correlation. So for that you can do with outliers and without outliers. Like in this case, we have this problem of outliers, and the solution is do it without outliers. So this is how you can calculate correlation coefficient simply with this. Either you can use this simple command, correlate your variables. Now as may be asking correlation between mother education level 1, no education, 2, school education, 3, college education, and vaccination. No, Carl Pearson is not applied. This is categorical data. It's Carl Pearson is for the quantitative data, because you can see here the methodology. This is a mean dispersion from the mean, and for categorical variables there is no mean, right? Because you have a 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 categories, so there is no mean, so it's not applicable. So this is how we can calculate correlation coefficient with this data. Now there are a few properties or few conditions you have to make sure while you're applying the correlation coefficients. Yesterday, again, I discussed these assumptions where these are the conditions, 5 or 6 conditions that you have to take care of before applying the correlation coefficient. Okay, we did that from the book. I remember those. Now the basic conditions is it needs to be quantitative. Then linearity, make sure it's a linear. If your data is like exponential or it's a second degree quadratic or any other polynomial form, that data is not linear, right? So if your data is not linear, then definitely correlation is not going to work. This particular Carl Pearson coefficient is not going to work, so that you have to take care of. Then outlier, like in this our example, in our case there are outliers, so we have to get rid of outliers. Then we can again calculate the correlation, and it might improve. 1 by 1, Gagan, how? For what 1 by 1 means? I didn't understand. Then the properties. No, Gagan, then you have a 1 value for then what it means mother education for no education is what it means, that you have 1 value for all the observations. So if there is no change, how the data will see the variations, correlation about something. See guys, understand the methodology behind the correlation, how it is statistically, how correlation is working actually. It's trying to see the movement in two variables. If that's that movement, what that movement here in Carl Pearson is, that movement is from the mean, that if both the variables are moving in the same direction from the mean, means if it's less than the mean, and if it's more than the mean, then the direction will be same, like negative negative again positive, and positive positive again positive. Then it will show us the positive correlation with the strong degree of association. But if movements are totally dispersed, that opposite movements, then we will get this negative, right? Positive negative 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 positive negative, then it will show us the strong association, negative correlation. But if movement is dispersed, like positive positive negative 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 positive positive negative, then there is no something in the common in the moment, right? So both are moving in another opposite directions, or there is no association in the moment. So this is the way behind the correlation coefficient technique, this particular Karl Pearson. So that movement, when it moves, these movements come from where? When you have a dispersion in the data, right? You have a different values. Like, what if you have only one or two values? Then there is no movement, right? That's a categorical variable. So there is no point to apply these techniques theoretically, because that's not feasible solution. Nishat, we did it in the box plot. I hope you remember that. In box plot, you have to first find the outliers, then just record those observations, give them a separate code, and again, you have to generate the new variable, then you can apply the correlation. That's something applied part, is how to get rid of. But for that theoretical sense, I can say one more thing. To deal with the outliers, theoretically you have to define those. Like, for example, you have this income variable and few individuals, means average individuals are earning nearby 30,000, 40,000 per month, and suppose there are one or two individuals who are earning in the crores. So now let's suppose you want to find the correlation without these two individuals, these are outliers, but theoretically you have to give justification, because that's also part of samples, right? And part of the population is, you can't just get rid of those into individuals that this is not part of, that's also a part of the population, means that's also representative of the same society. So theoretical justification is also required whenever you have this problem of outlier. The simple solution statistically, I can say, you can do both the analysis with the outlier and without outlier, but you have to justify what is the outlier and why you are getting out from the outlier. So that justification is not something statistical that came from the theoretical, means you have to define that why you are keeping them aside, why you think that your analysis is not appropriate if you include those outliers. So that's theoretical justification you have to give, and for that you need a strong logic behind that. But statistically, I'm telling the process that you can do this if just because of the outliers your coefficient correlation is, you are finding it moderate or weak. So that's the reason we have to take care of outlier, but justification is theoretical. Now the properties of the correlation, Nishad, I'll do that exercise if maybe we have time in the end of this particular part too, that how to get rid of, although that's part of the part one, means when we did this box plot, there I tried to describe you how you find outliers. These are the properties of the correlation, like the last properties that I was discussing. Correlation is sensitive to unusual observations. A single outlier can make a small correlation large or make a large one small. So this is the problem with the particular technique. Why this will happen? Because you can see here this is gap from the mean, right? For example, your mean is something 10,000. You have income variable. This particular individual is the income of 1 crore. Now this gap, if you multiply with this another deviation, now it's multiplicative. So when your numerator term will increase, right? So this is why we say this is sensitive to unusual observations. Now one by one, first that we know that it's from 1 to -1 to +1. Correlation treats x and y symmetrically for it, but this particular technique both are independent variables. There is no something kind of dependent and independent relationship. Correlation has no units because it comes from this particular method. These properties are about the Karl Pearson coefficient correlation, not about the all type of correlation coefficients. Because it comes from the standardization process, so there is no unit, and that's why we say it a coefficient. Whenever we only use coefficient term when we have a data of one for any particular parameter is standardized and unit free. Correlation is not affected by the changes in the center or the scale of either the variable. That's what I was talking about, the units, that whatever units you have, it won't make any changes. For example, now center and scale is means that if you can this particular data set, if you can multiply x with 10 or 100 or 1000, it's not going to change the multiply or divide. But if you will changing the scale means with multiplication of all the variables, all the values with some constant term, or division with some constant term, that's the change in the scale. And center means addition and subtraction of some common term. So if you do this with any of these particular variable, correlation coefficient is not going to change. Another important property is this we know that correlation measures the strength of the linear association between the two variables. And the last one, correlation is sensitive to unusual, that I already discussed. Now this center and scale, if you want, just do a little experiment here if you want. Now we have this correlation coefficient 0.28 for median marriage, right? Let me multiply this marriage with 1000 and let's see the correlation coefficient will change or not. So to do that, I have to generate new variable. For generate, the command is GEN. Now I am giving it name that marriage multiply by 100 underscore 100. Now how I multiply? Just marriage multiply by 100. This is new variable is now generated in our data set. Marriage, that is multiply with the 100. This marriage values are multiplied with the 100. Let's find again the correlation between these two variables. Statistics tables, descriptive stats, correlation. This time I don't need covariance. Now in place of marriage, I'm going to use variable marriage multiply by 100. Okay. Now you can see the results will remain same. 0.28, 0.2, because it's unit free already, so it won't change with the change in scale or center. So I am deleting this particular variable because I don't need it. So this is how you can calculate correlation coefficient for quantitative variables with Karl Pearson coefficient. And these are the properties assumption we yesterday we did. The next thing with the correlation coefficient is the coefficient of determination. Now R is saying that okay, there is a strong correlation, moderate, or it's weak, or if it's nearby zero, you can say there is no correlation, means it's just a small indication. But how much is the variation in the one variable is explained by the another? That's more important in correlation and regression. So that we call coefficient of determination. Simply for bivariate analysis, it's just a small R square, means you can multiply R with, just take a square of the R correlation coefficient, it's a coefficient of determination. For example, in this particular example, the R is 0.97. And if you multiply, take a square of this particular value, it's 0.95. But it means that about 95% of the variation in, let's suppose this final grade is a one particular variable. Like I said, 90% of the variation in one variable can be explained by the another variable. With whatever two variables you have, although coefficient determination is something where we can only interpret when we are going to do the regression analysis and we already defined dependent independent relations. Then we say that okay, this much of the variation in the dependent variable is explained by the independent variable. That we do generally with the R square in the regression analysis. So but if we have a correlation, if we don't know which one is the dependent variable, then only you can say is that the variation in the one variable is explained by the another variable is 95%. Now here you can interchange these variables. You can say that variation in the x, 95% variation in the x is explained by the variation in y, and the vice versa, that 95% variation is the y variable is explained by the x variable. So generally coefficient determination comes after the regression, but if you're only doing the correlation coefficient with this particular thing, you can just find the how much variation in the one particular variable is explained by the another variable. But more appropriate interpretation for coefficient determination only comes when you have a one dependent variable and another is the independent variable, and you are more interested to find out that how much is the variation in the dependent variable is explained by the independent variable. So only try to do this particular interpretation whenever you have this dependent independent relationship. Is simply in the correlation we already have this particular parameters, like we can say it's moderate or strong, so it won't make much difference by just getting this coefficient of determination, because we don't know which one is the dependent, and why we are bothered about this, that how much variation in the one is explained by the another variable. So that's one thing you have to keep in mind while you try to interpret coefficient determination in case of correlation. Although generally we don't interpret this with the correlation, we interpret coefficient determination after regression analysis. So the next part is, okay, any doubts so far? Yeah, Gagan, divide by 100, and then again it will remain same. You can add 100, you can divide, you can multiply, you can subtract 100. With the change in scale, this correlation coefficient is not going to change. The next is hypothesis testing. Okay, we have this correlation number. In our case, this was 0.28, right? Now, how we can check whether this particular parameter based upon the sample calculation, is it significant? Means we can rely on this particular number. So to do that, we need a hypothesis testing. Now here, okay, now this is the R, that is correlation coefficient. Anyone if you can guess that which hypothesis test we can apply, which test statistics we can apply. So far we did F, Z, and T. So for this correlation, which test statistics we will apply to find the range from the distribution tables to cross check whether this particular value lie in that particular range or not. Now I have two questions with all of you. First, which test statistic? Second, what will be our null hypothesis? Sample size is 50. Two things you have to answer. First, what will be our null hypothesis, and which test statistic we will apply. Anyone? Null hypothesis R is significantly different from 0. No, Nishant. There is no correlation between variables, and what that means, Gagan, we need number because it's a parameter. If it's non-parametric method, then we can use this particular statement that there is no DVS, R is 0. Now why 0, Divya? Yeah, Nishat, actually this is the, if R is null hypothesis is this R is equal to 0. It's not R is significantly different from 0. That's the alternative hypothesis. Null hypothesis is R is equal to 0. Now, another question still remains same. Which statistic we are going to use and why we are taking 0 value in the null hypothesis? Why not 0.5? Why not 0.7? 1, -1. That's okay, but why 0 only? Why not I'm comparing with the 0.50? That okay, I want to see where this particular, and null is about what? Null is about the population parameter. The thing is we don't know the population parameter value. So when we don't have any population parameter value with which we can compare our sample results, then there is no choice, but we have to take null hypothesis as 0 because we don't have any choice. So this is a tricky solution, but simple. Let's just take a 0 value and compare with the 0 value because we don't have any other population parameter. If you have any other population parameter, let's suppose if you know that in the population correlation coefficient for these two variables is 0.5, then you have to take 0.5 in the null hypothesis, and the alternate will be it's not equal to 0.5. That depends upon the information. If we don't have a population parametric value, that's the reason we are taking 0, because that's the tricky. Rather than taking a n number of values, the simple is just take a 0 and compare with the 0. And the another thing with the 0 is that it's telling that it's not significant, that 0, but 0 means that there is no correlation, right? So there are two solutions with the 0 value. And the best thing, because null hypothesis is something which we cannot be proved in alternate, it will be not equal to 0. Yeah, that's true, Divya, but it's not need to be 0, right? If I know the population parameter value is 0.5, then I have to take 0.5. 0 is not something that is a rule to take in the null hypothesis. That's only we take because we don't have any other population parameter value. And test statistic is T because it's not a comparison of any ratio, and that ratio is in the square format, that numerator and denominator both in the square. Then we apply F test. It's not a simple square variable, so we can apply chi-square. It's a simple statistic value. So then we have to apply either Z or T. But since we don't know the population standard deviation, then we only have to choice of T statistics here. So to do hypothesis testing for correlation parameter, we have to use T statistics. But here the formula will differ. This is the formula. This particular formula is for the T statistics to check hypothesis testing for correlation coefficients. In this particular case, we have a null as 0 because we don't know the population parameter. And the 0 means the correlation in the population is 0. Null is always about the population parameter, right? Unless you have any specific value in the population, then there is no choice that we have to take it as 0. An alternative, it's not equal to 0. Now this is the test statistics for this particular correlation parameter. This is designed for this correlation coefficient hypothesis testing. So let's apply this particular test statistics to check whether it's statistically significant or not. Now this particular test statistics in this data for correlation, it's not available here in the statistics, descriptives, and correlation. If pairwise correlations, here we have this option of significance level. So let's suppose I am taking 5% level of significance, and my variables are now here: median age and marriage. Now, okay. Now we have this particular star. So let's suppose I need a p-value, means here it's only showing that significant at 5% level of significance. But if I need actual value for this particular test statistics, then pairwise correlation, I hope there is an option. print significance level for a significance level for each entry by okay. Star is generally here when we have a significant at 5%, whatever level of significance you have. But it means that p value is less than the level of significance. If it's less than level of significance, then rule is reject the null hypothesis. And what is null hypothesis here? That our rho is this particular correlation coefficient in the population parameter is 0. So if we are hypothesis, then we can say we have failed to accept the null hypothesis. So now we are accepting the alternate. It means the correlation in the population is different from 0. Now, how much is different that we don't know, but at least we can say that this particular correlation coefficient is statistically significant. How much is the significant that we don't know. We don't have any population parameter, but we can at least say that this is not equal to 0. So it is statistically significant. So this is how we can do this particular thing with the Stata software with the pairwise correlation option. Then only you have this level of, yeah, you can get this value of level of significance, this 0 p value if you need. Then for p value, what you have to do is here you have to just put the level of significance. For example, I want it at a 5% level of significance. If you need a p value, you don't need, then it's okay. Significance, yeah, now it will provide us the p value. This is the p value, and this p value is less than the level of significance that we kept as 0.055%. That's 95% confidence interval. So we can say, based upon the p value, that null is rejected. It means this rho is not equal to 0. So it means this particular correlation coefficient is statistically significant. Repeat the test and how to check the significance. Significance, okay. For that, you have to go through the part 1 hypothesis testing. I think it's lecture 5 or 6. We did this 3 or 4 classes just on the hypothesis testing procedure. So better than just to find this, how this is significant or not. The good thing is that you can understand the process of hypothesis testing and how we can say, is it significant or not? And we did 3 approaches: test of significance approach, p-value approach, and confidence interval approach. Although I can say for this particular, this is the p-value approach right now we are applying. And the p-value approach, the rule is, if p-value is less than the level of significance, then we will say reject the null hypothesis and accept the alternate hypothesis. This is the p-value approach I'm saying. But there is a test of significance approach and confidence interval. We did all the 3, so that you have to go through the part 1. Then for doing here, you have to just go to the statistics, summary, descriptive stats in a pairwise correlation, select your variables, select your level of significance. You can change here if you want, and just press OK. And it will give you the correlation coefficient, as well as this star is indicating the significant. Is it significant at particular level of significance? But if you need a p-value with this particular significance, then this is the command. You have to enter the level of significance, and you have to just write significance. Then it will also show you the p-value. So this is how we do this test statistics, and this is the test statistics for correlation coefficient. R here is the correlation coefficient, and this T statistics. Gagan is asking me why. No, Gagan, why you are comparing it with 2.8, Gagan? We have to compare it with the p-value, not with the parameter. Means this is the sample parameter, right? Sample statistic, and population parameter in the null hypothesis is 0. This 0 we have for this 0, we have this test statistic tabulation values, right? Now t distribution change with the sample size. Now we have a t distribution here, and in the t distribution, we have to look upon this particular test statistics value with a degree of freedom that we did in the part 1. Okay, so this is how we do hypothesis testing for correlation coefficient for quantitative variables. Now you can do a pairwise correlation for n number of pairs. For example, here I want to add few other variables like death. I want to see the relationship between median age and death. Then okay, let's take a three variables here. Now it will do a pairwise, right? Marriage with the median age, then death with the median age, then death with the marriage. You can see here strong correlation is between marriage and death. I don't know how this happened, but it's 0.89 on the positive correlation and significant at a 0.5% level of significance. Let's see the data. Why this is the death and the marriage. This data is for this particular what we call this USA. They have these cities, or I don't know. I forgot how we say they have this, like in India we have a states. So this data is for the population wise, that death in this particular states and marriages. Now this is a spurious correlation. Okay, don't try to look up on this particular theory why this is a case of spurious correlation we did yesterday. There might be some another variable which is common in these two variables, and that's creating this particular correlation. Right now I don't have this any theoretical framework which I can describe that which one is this third lurking variable. That example I gave yesterday, right? Lurking variable, which is a third variable which is common in the two variables and that creating a high correlation, but that's the case of spurious correlations and that we don't have to see. Maybe in your research, anytime you find any strong correlation among the variables, whatever data you have collected from the primary data or secondary data. So don't just after seeing the high correlation try to look upon those and try to make a new theories. No, not at all. The way is first we have a theory, then according to theory we have a research questions. With the research questions we have hypotheses. In hypotheses we have variables. Only for those variables we will see this correlation. Descriptive stat first, then correlation. Okay, so he's asking that I know p-value should be less than 0, find over what we take significance. But in the two tests you have done, one have p-value given, but in previous one value is not given. In that we have checked for the test value with star. This is the same test statistic, only this is the command difference in the command, that in this particular command star is indicating that this for this particular situation p-value is less than the level of significance. And the next command I was just add this 0.05 because I actually need the p-value. So here we have a p-value and this is less than 0.05. That's why we are saying reject the null hypothesis. And this is the same situation for both the case. P-value is the same, only the difference is in the first command p-value is not here, and in the second command if you need the p-value then just you have to add this particular level of significance, then you will get here p-value. That's the only difference here. Okay, so any doubt in the correlation? We did also this spurious correlation, death and marriage 0.89 and significant at 5% level of significance. And if you can see this particular scatter plot for these two variables, yeah, this is strong correlation, right? If you can remove these three outliers, it might be 95 something, 0.95. So this is a case of spurious correlation. Why I'm saying spurious? Because we don't have any theory. If there is any theory, then it's not is if you can define this with any particular logic and you have a theoretical background for that particular logic, then it's not as spurious. For just right now, I don't have any theory to define these two variables. So for me, it's spurious. Maybe some another variable just creating this high correlation. Okay, so any doubt in the correlation coefficient? Karl-Pearson correlation coefficient. You can do for more than two variables, pairwise correlation, if you only two. But this test of significance, this particular thing only come in this pairwise correlation option. That's why I'm saying there are two options to do the correlation, simple correlation and pairwise, but this option for this level of significance and test statistics only in the pairwise. Here only you have this level of significance. It's not in the simple correlation. So you have to select this particular option. Or if you are good into remember the commands, then you can just use the commands. That is Karl-Pearson correlation coefficient and its hypothesis testing. So let's move on further. Okay, the next situation is now we have this four scale, right? Nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio. Let's suppose you have an ordinal scale data. That might be a situation where you have something ranking, Likert scale kind of data. Then you have to apply Spearman correlation. This is only designed to do ordinal scale. If you have ordinal scale, then you can apply this. Now here, first, how this formula works actually, it's take deviation differences between the ranks, and that's the way it go. So for this particular formula, the option is in your, okay, let's do it with some, okay, let's do two things here. First, just in brief, that how we assign ranks in Stata. Anytime you want to assign the rank for a particular variable, you might have a 2000, 3000 observations, so it's not the manual process. For that, you have to use the rank EGEN_rank command, EGEN command to assign the ranks for any particular variable. Let's suppose you want to give ranking to this marriage rate variable. So far, we don't have ranking in this particular data set, which we are using here. We don't have any ranking variable, right? This is the data set we have, right? And there is no some ranking kind of variables, ordinal scale variable. So we don't need to apply Spearman rank correlation. It's only required when you have an ordinal scale. So just to give a demonstration, I made here two variables in a ranking format. I assigned rank to two variables. One is the marriage rate, another is the divorce rate. So how you can assign rank to these variables? Just type EGEN. To only generate is the command in Stata to generate the variable, but with EGEN we have some specific functions like concatenate and this ranking function. Then give a name, whatever names. I already generated, so I'm just trying to show you. Like I have given this name rank for marriage rate, rank_marriage rate, whatever name you want to give without any space, equal to, then command is rank within bracket for which you want to give the ranking. Like you want to give the ranking to this marriage rate, bracket close. Now, I already have, so I'm not going to do it again. You have to just press enter. EGEN, name of the variable, equal to rank within bracket for which you want to generate the rank. Let's suppose I want to generate the rank for this marriage rate variable. Then press enter. Then your new variable will appear in your variable window, rank marriage rate. This particular You can see this in your data sheet. Here you will find this particular rank variable now. Now we did two ordinal scale variables, right? This Spearman is about the ordinal scale. It's not that one is in the quantitative, another is the ordinal. No, both needs to be in an ordinal scale. So let's suppose another variable is ranking of divorce rate. Please stop me or ask a doubt if you are struggling to give ranking. Now for the next variable is divorce rate. So again, the command remains same. So give ranking to divorce rate. Press enter. Now you will find another variable in your data editor. That's ranking of the divorce rate. Now you have two variables, rank variables. Now we can apply this Spearman rank correlation. Although in Stata you can apply to any of these variables this Spearman correlation, but there is no some restriction that Spearman you can't apply. But the thing is that Karl Pearson coefficient we can't apply to ordinal scale. It's not the vice versa that Spearman rank correlation you can't apply to the this quantitative variables. You can apply, but I'll show you one difference which is in this Spearman technique and the Karl Pearson coefficient. That's the reason. Avoid Spearman rank correlation if you have a quantitative variable. That I'll show after this. First, just calculate the Spearman correlation. Now, how we calculate the Spearman correlation? Again, you have to go to statistics, summary. Now you have to, it's not in this summary descriptive stat. Now you have to go to non-parametric, if you can remember this. Those are not quantitative variables like we did in the hypothesis testing. Then we use some non-parametric method. So it's also a non-parametric method. Now here we'll find Spearman rank correlation. Now we have these two new variables which are in the ranking of marriage rate, ranking of divorce rate. If you also need a level of significance that p-value, then click on, or you can change level of significance. If you want 0.01, you can take 0.01. Okay. Now we have this 50 observations and Spearman rank correlation value is 0.69. So this is nearby this strong correlation 0.70, but we can see it's moderate correlation, and p-value is less than the level of significance. We can say, now what is the null hypothesis? Already it's written here that difference between these two ranking of this particular marriage rate and ranking of divorce rate is 0. That's the null hypothesis here. The difference is, now here it's not like that some parameter values, like in the previous case, in the null hypothesis, we have this specific value, right? This is only for the parametric method when we have some population parameters. But in this case, we don't know the population parameters, so we take a value as 0. And that means that it's not associated with each other. There is no correlation. But in case of non-parametric method, the term Gagan is using last time. Gagan, you can see that we have to use here in the non-parametric method that whatever variables you have are independent. There is no correlation between them. These statements we can use when we have a non-parametric method, because now we can't give any specific parametric value. Otherwise, we can use parametric method, but this is non-parametric method. So here we can only say that these particular variables are independent. Like in our case, we have this particular variable, marriage rate and divorce rate. So in null, we can say these are independent. That's when we have a non-parametric case. Now p-value is because less than the level of significance. this particular case, we kept this 0.05 level of significance. So it's less than, so we can reject the null hypothesis. It means they are not independent. They are correlated with each other. And this correlation is near more than between moderate and strong. So that's the interpretation for this particular coefficient and hypothesis testing for Spearman correlation. But you can apply Spearman when you have an ordinal scale, although technically it's not any restriction for the Spearman that you can't apply this particular method to a quantity, but there is a difference. Now I'll show you one example of difference here. Let's take a case. Okay, let's take a case of marriage rate and divorce rate. Okay. Any doubt so far? Now I'm just going to give one example that what is the difference that in these two Karl-Pearson coefficient and Spearman rank correlation if we apply this to a quantitative data, although you can't apply this Spearman to the this Karl-Pearson to a ordinal scale. But if you have ordinal, then you don't have any choice. You have to apply this particular Spearman rank correlation, and there is one new correlation that these days we have in the literature, the Kendall's rank correlation that also will do. But first, just give you some example that how value will differ with both the methods. If we have mixture, again correlation is not about the mixture. It's not. You can't. How you can compare one categorical with the non-categorical? No, it's not. It's not possible in the correlation that you can do in the regression, that your dependent might be a categorical or quantitative variable and dependent variables are categorical or quantitative, but not in the correlation. Okay, so just to demonstrate the difference in the two, I'm going to find correlation between marriage rate and divorce rate. First with Karl-Pearson coefficient, then with Spearman. And let's see, is there any difference or we will find same values. So first we do pairwise correlation. Pairwise option is for the Karl-Pearson. I don't need hypothesis testing. And I want to do it for marriage rate and divorce rate. Marriage rate and divorce rate. Okay. So this is Karl-Pearson coefficient of correlation. Now do it again for Spearman rank correlation. It's the non-parametric test of hypothesis. Spearman. Marriage rate. And divorce rate. I don't need level of significance. Okay. The difference here you can see now. In the Karl-Pearson coefficient of correlation, value is 0.78. So you can conclude that there is a strong correlation. But in case of Spearman rank correlation, value is 0.69. So one can say that it's a moderate correlation. So now generally in the Spearman correlation, you find value less than the Karl-Pearson coefficient. Any guess why? Maybe you know this answer. Hint is that we did it in the properties, the last property of correlation coefficient. Those properties are for Karl-Pearson coefficient. The value will differ with the Spearman rank correlation and Karl-Pearson coefficient of correlations, and this will give us a hint that why we can't use this Spearman correlation for quantitative data. Although there is also a possibility that you can use Spearman for the quantitative data because there is a one limitation in the Karl-Pearson coefficient of correlation. So first now you can understand there is a difference, right? Now we have to find that why this difference is. This difference is generally because of Karl Pearson coefficient is very sensitive to unusual observations. Theoretically, I can say that when we give a ranking, right? Let's suppose I have given a fourth rank to a one particular value, that's 2000. The next value is 2 lakh. Now this 2000 to 2 lakh is the big difference for Karl Pearson coefficient, because there we are taking deviation from the mean. But for the this Spearman rank correlation, this is just a difference of one rank, because now I have to assign the next rank. The next rank is 5. So 4 to 5. But in the Karl Pearson coefficient, that's with the unusual differences, that value will remain same. It's a sensitive. So that's the reason you will find this different values with these different methods. And this is the reason for this particular case, that large difference in the results is caused by one observation. First, I'll show you this. First, just okay, go through this, then I'll show you this observation. This particular state rate is almost 10 times higher than the state with which the next highest marriage rate. An important feature of the Spearman rank correlation coefficient is its reduced sensitivity to extreme values compared with the Pearson correlation coefficient. So it also means that if we have outliers, right, then it means the Spearman is not sensitive to that. So then it might be useful. So that's also one solution and also one problem. So now let's see this data set where this particular problem is actually. In the marriage rate for this particular ranking is, let's see the 10% marriage rate. Okay. For this particular name of the state is Nevada. Yeah, this is the, you might have it at another way. I have already sorted out. So yes, the difference is here, because you can see the 49th rank in the marriage rate is value 1.72, but the next value is 14.28, right? 10 times higher. Okay, but in ranking it's just one another rank. So this Karl Pearson is sensitive to these changes, but Spearman is not, because here we are assigning the ranks. So this difference won't matter here. It's just one another rank. So this is the reason why these two values will differ, Spearman and rank correlation. So that's, now you have to check, you have to decide which method you can apply. And there is no restriction with the Spearman rank correlation that you can't apply this to a quantitative variables. Yes, restriction is that you can't apply Karl Pearson coefficient to an ordinal scale, because that's not designed in that particular way. The Spearman is on the rank basis, so you can apply to the ordinal scale. So if you have ordinal scale, then you have only one choice, Spearman rank correlation. But if you have a quantitative data, you can apply both Spearman as well as this Karl Pearson coefficient. I hope this point is clear. So I'll move to another type of correlation method for ordinal scale, especially scales when you have a Likert scales. Then you have to apply these methods, because Karl Pearson work with the mean, and that's not possible for these ordinal scale variables. Okay, in brief, yeah, again this Spearman, this is only just in brief, but earlier he did work in the military service and then in the experimental psychology, and after that he designed these techniques, correlations and all. Similarly, another British statistician who designed a rank correlation technique, that's Kendall's rank correlation. That's also useful if you have ordinal scale data. So let's do this now, Kendall's rank correlation. This is something like a gap between the concordant and disconcordant. This ANSI is, I'll come back to it, that what is concordant, disconcordant. This is another way of doing finding the association correlation for the ordinal scale variable. So let's see first the case. Okay, the examples where you can apply this. In these examples, whatever information is there, you can also apply Spearman here. Like this ratings example here, that whenever we order this something from Zomato and Swiggy, after that in app they ask you this, right, that rate it on a 5 scale, that how you rate that services. And let's suppose there are two variables, time and the quality of, generally they have this, right, two questions this in Zomato these days. One is the timing or the one is about the delivery person, that how you rate that person, and one is about the quality of food. So if you, for example, you want to do that analysis, and that's a Likert scale 5 scale they are using for that particular data set. So if you want to see the association between the person who is delivering the food, quality of the person who is delivering the food, and the quality of food, let's suppose if this kind of analysis you want to do, then you can apply this Spearman rank correlation or Kendall's correlation. So there are other methods, other variables where you have this kind of rankings and ordinal scale. Then you have to apply this Spearman or Kendall's rank correlation. So now let's see how this particular method works. Let's suppose in the left hand corner here, I took this example from the YouTube because I don't have any textbook right now with me that where I can find this Kendall's rank correlation technique and numericals. So I took it from the internet. So just to elaborate it, let's suppose this is the pair of ranking you have for 5 observations. This is the data set you have. Like in this particular Spearman, we did this particular thing for the marriage ranking of the marriage rate and ranking of the divorce rate. We do with that particular data set also. But just understand the process of this particular method, because generally we are familiar with the Spearman correlation and correlation coefficients, but let's just see how this Kendall's rank correlation is working. Now you have to arrange this data in this particular process. The process is you have to first compare this first pair, like 1 and 4, with all other pairs, like 1 4 with 2 5, 1 4 with 3 3, 1 4 with 4 1, 1 4 with the 5 2. First pair with all other pairs. Then second pair with the remaining, because second pair we already compared with the first pair, that's already done. So now we have to do it with the another pairs, 3 3, 4 1, 5 2, and so on. Third pair with the remaining 2 pairs, fourth pair with the remaining 1 pair, and fifth already compared with everyone, each one. So let's suppose in this case we have a 10 pairs. This is the situation here. Now this is the thing which it will work like this, like here in the green and red now, the concordant and discordant thing. If your next pair, like this particular case, first one, 1 4, we are comparing with the next pair 2 5. If your next pair is greater than the first pair, both the values, then we will say concordant. If any one of is or in the opposite direction, then we will say it a disconcordant. It's same like in the Karl-Pearson coefficient, positive positive, negative negative, then we have the same association, right, high or low. But if we have a different diversion, like positive negative negative positive, that we call it dispersion, means there might be a no correlation or a negative correlation, right? So that's the same thing here. If your second value is greater than the first one, then we will say it's a concordant. In the next case, this 3 is greater than the 1, but for this particular 3, the y value is not greater than the 4. So we need both. If both the values are greater than this previous one, then we can say concordant. Otherwise, we will say disconcordant. It means that in the next pair, x value is increasing, but not for the y value. So there is a disconcordant. So similarly, we have to do it for all the variables, all the data sets. So let's suppose in this case, we have a 2 cases of concordant and 8 cases of disconcordant. Now these values we have to put in this particular formula. 8 minus, sorry, concordance minus disconcordance. 2 minus 8, that's minus 6. That's numerator, this particular value. Then in denominator, don't confuse with this 10 because actually they took this 2 in the division of this denominator term. That will give you the same results. Denominator we have a this n minus 1. So here we have a 5 pairs, that's 4, multiply with 5, that's 20, and divide by 2, that's 10. So if we divide this numerator term with the denominator term, it will give us this Kendall's that's the Kendall's rank correlation coefficients. So this is how this Kendall's technique work to find the rank correlation. Now let me do it with the Stata software for the same variables. Again, you have to go statistics, non-parametric method. Now Kendall's rank correlation. Marriage rate, sorry, it's ranking now. Rank of marriage rate and rank of divorce rate. If you also need hypothesis testing, then 0.05. Okay. So here the correlation coefficient is this one, 0.51. Now here two correlation coefficients, tau A and tau B. For simplicity, I am not going today in this detail of tau A and B. Actually, this B is the improvement in the original this Kendall's rank formula method, and this improvement is about the paired one, that whenever we have this same rankings, right, in the we do in the Spearman rank correlation, that 1 minus m cube minus m, that we do in the formula, right, that adjustments for the if we have a tie in the rankings, that adjustment is also in the Kendall. So there are two different formulas. There is an improvement in the previous one, but in this case, because we don't have any tie case, so both will give the same result. But if there is a tie in the ranking, then these rates will differ. Then better you have to, if it's a tie case, then I suggest you use the second one, tau B. Then how you do this level of significance for this one, then in this particular case, in the hypothesis testing, press here, display tau B. By default, it's showing both the results, but then just do hypothesis testing for this second one. That's more appropriate if you have a case of tie in the rankings. Otherwise, both will give us the same results. Now, if we compare this with the Spearman rank correlation, Spearman rank correlation, yeah, here. Spearman rank correlation value is 0.69, but Kendall's rank correlation value is 0.51. So this is the order you will find that generally the Karl Pearson coefficient will give you maximum correlation value. Spearman, as I described you, that it's not sensitive to unusual observations. So you will find a comparatively low correlation value. And in this case, because we are comparing the pairwise in this particular examples, again, it's not sensitive to unusual observations. So in that case, and we are comparing pairwise, so that's the one reason that we'll find low correlation value in case of Kendall's rank correlation. So far, I'm not expert in this particular correlation technique, and I even don't know right now that when you have to apply Kendall's rank correlation in compared to Spearman rank correlation. This is, but these days it's in few textbooks, so that's the reason I selected it. That okay, let me describe with the process this particular correlation technique and how you apply in this data. But so far, I don't have this particular literature with me that which can describe that when we have to use this Kendall's and not to use Spearman rank correlation. The gap is there, means there might be something that we have to use in a one particular situation, this Kendall only. For that, I have need to go through the original papers of this particular technique, that why they have designed the. If we go this history wise, that when this Carl Pearson is the, I think in 1800 something, and this paper of this Carl Pearson, but Spearman is after it came a Spearman, then this Kendall's is came in I think 1955 or 1990, nearby this time period, this particular new rank correlation method. So to understand which one we have to use, if we have a choice between Spearman and Kendall rank correlation, that answer right now I don't have it. I'll try to look upon it at an, and I'll update all of you if I find that particular literature. I read somewhere that Kendall's test used in case of small sample size. That might be case. The reason actually, no, that's not with this data software. For example, here you need this pairwise combinations. So if manually wording, then I can understand with the small sample size case, but that's not true for the software, because instead, even if you have 1 lakh observation, it won't make any difference. But yes, the thing is that it's not sensitive to unusual changes between the pairs even, and this is the ranking case. So the value is low. So then might be that you will find that, okay, the correlation is low. Means if we go by the degree wise, then it's something that we have to take care of. Although generally we in hypothesis testing we'll find the similar results. Means if it's significant in the Spearman, it will also be significant in the Kendall's rank correlation. Means that thing will remain same. And in regression, we do this impact factor association, where we are more concerned with the parameter beta values, that how much is the impact. Rather in correlation, we're just worried about that and association or correlation, is it a positive or negative? And if it's a positive or negative, then what will be the degree of correlation? Is it a high, moderate, or low? And then we can also look upon the scatter plot. So as far as hypothesis testing is concerned, both will give you the same results. Only the difference we will get in the values. So this is the correlation methods you can apply for quantitative data and for your this ordinal scale data. We will do case of nominal scale variables, that if we have a nominal scale variable, although there is no formula or no technique to find correlation value for nominal scale variable, but at least we can do this hypothesis testing whether any particular categorical variables, nominal scale variables, are associated or not. And for that we can use chi-square. That's again a non-parametric method. But as such, there is no specific thing right now like this. For ordinal scale, we have some R value. Similarly for the quantitative data, but for nominal scale, there is no such technique. So in that case, we can only rely with the chi-square association, that whether our variables are associated or not. For example, if you go with the qualitative dependent variables like binary, where you use logit and this type of models, before that you have to check the association with the chi-square. Yes, that's the process you have to go through. Don't directly jump to the logit models. First just see, is there association or not? If there is no association, then there is no meaning to apply the logit. to go through the association part. And for regression, we did this correlation for quantitative variable and ordinal. So tomorrow I'll take two or three cases of categorical data. You can find association between categorical data. I'll take 2 or 3 case studies or data sets that I'll share with you by today or in the morning tomorrow. I'm just trying to sort out those cases. I have those data sets, but I have to make few adjustments and I'll share with you. So, okay, thank you so much. This is for today. Any doubt? I think Ankita, if you have this thing literature or something, then try to look upon it. I also looking for these candles. I don't have any specific book or any reliable source in the internet, which I didn't find that any particular methodology about. Maybe in the original paper it's, but I was looking upon it. If you have, then please share with me. Okay. Anyone else? Anything about ordinal scale and quantitative variables? Otherwise, thank you so much. This is for the today. Tomorrow we will do association part for categorical